into your Wednesday edition of Bet. I'm your host, Anita Marks, and we've got two gentlemen that you are definitely going to want to hear from today. Greg McElroy is going to join us as we are just weeks away from college football kicking off. Really excited about that. We'll talk about the Heisman Trophy race, who you can put your money on now before the season begins. And Sebastian Salazar is going to join us. The ladies, that's right, USA Women's Soccer, they have advanced to the next round, but can they continue? Still favored with a few sports books, but can they win the World Cup and bring another one home to the United States? So we're going to dive into a number of things, but let's take a look at the Heisman Trophy odds right now. No surprise that Caleb Williams, quarterback for USC, is favored right now at plus 550. But he's got quite a few really talented college players on his coattails, right? So let's bring in Greg. Greg, so first things first, as we know, Caleb Williams has an opportunity to do something that's only happened once, right, in the history of the Heisman Trophy. Archie Griffin, 1975, winning it 2 years in a row. So taking a look at those odds, who do you think will give Caleb a run for his money this football season?
Well, on that list right there among the favorites, I think the one that is most capable of potentially securing the trophy would be J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. Michigan returns arguably the best team of the Jim Harbaugh era. If there's one thing we've learned about the Heisman Trophy, it's really about moments as it is about stats. And J.J. McCarthy last year was thrust into the starting role week 2. He split reps with Cade McNamara, who has since transferred out. Cade McNamara was the incumbent starter from the year before. So he split reps all throughout the spring, summer, and fall camp, and then beat him out in the season. So now, with an entire offseason worth of reps, he's probably going to be a significantly more developed player. I'm anticipating a huge bump in his statistical productivity, but you got to find the Heisman moment. A game against Ohio State in the final regular season game, that's a pretty big platform to make a splash. 2 weeks earlier, they'll play on the road at Penn State. So 2 of the final 3 weeks could very well come against top 10 foes, and big performances against top 10 foes, and then compounding those performances in the Big Ten championship game with a massive audience could give him the springboard that he might need to potentially secure the trophy.
All right, so I'm going to throw out a name, a guy who I am going to be cheering for this season, and that is Drake May, quarterback for UNC. I've heard outstanding things about this young man. 2022 ACC Player of the Year, right? Looks like an NFL season vet already. Mechanics are supreme. Great intellect, demeanor, command of the game, and in fact, what was really impressive, I spoke to a few NFL scouts. He actually not eligible for the draft, but went out on UNC's pro day and threw the ball for about 45 minutes. Scouts were amazed. Not one ball hit the ground. He's got the competitiveness. He protects the football. Only 7 interceptions last season. He is really pro ready at this stage, which is really unbelievable to me. If you watch the film, you are thoroughly impressed. So for me, it's Drake May. Your thoughts on possibly him winning the Heisman this year?
I love the player, and if you want to do a crazy futures prop, if you want to have him as the potential number 1 pick, I know Caleb Williams is the odds-on favorite, but if you want to have him as a guy that maybe surges, maybe sprinkle a little on that. Here's the problem, though, Anita, for me with Drake May is the audience. I know that when Michigan faces Ohio State, they're going to have 15, 16 million viewers there on Fox at noon Eastern time. 2 weeks earlier against Penn State, 10, 12 million viewers. They're at noon on Fox as well. So those are massive platforms. And with all due respect, we have not seen a guy that's won the Heisman Trophy that hasn't been within striking distance of the playoff since Lamar Jackson back in 2016. That's the last guy. So everyone else that's won the trophy has been right there on the cusp of either making the playoff or their team is sitting there 10-2, 11-1, 12-0. I don't know if North Carolina is going to be good enough as a team to warrant the eyeballs that would give him the promotion necessary to potentially bring home the Heisman.
I hear you. I hear you. Now, as we know, a quarterback has won the Heisman a record 39 times. Really unbelievable. It is the position to play if your goal is to win a Heisman Trophy in your lifetime. But let's take a look. 6 of these guys are obviously QBs, but give me a running back that you want to keep your eye on, that you think possibly has a chance of winning it this year.
Let's find some value, right? We went a little bit chalky. Michigan quarterback, like that's pretty chalky. Like you at least rolled the dice with Drake May. I on the first one I went on the board. All right, so let's go down the list a little bit. Can I talk you into 60-1? Like, does that get the wheels spinning for everybody just a little bit? Because I look at Trey Benson at Florida State at 60-1. He's got a big opportunity week 1 against LSU in what should be a top 10 showdown. LSU's great on the defensive front. They're an outstanding group. But if you look at Florida State's offense, a lot of the headlines right now are centering around the quarterback. Understandably so. Jordan Travis is probably going to be Florida State's biggest Heisman frontrunner. He's a big-time player, can make great plays, and if this opportunity does present itself down the road, you could see votes split between Jordan Travis and Trey Benson. But when I look at Trey Benson, this guy's a workhorse. He's big, he's physical, and last year he had a remarkably productive season, but he was in a running back by committee type of approach. Now, those reps are only going to be split with one other guy, and that's Lawrence Toafili, who might be more of the receiver version out of the rack field for the Seminoles. So I think the big opportunity is against Clemson on the road, big opportunity against LSU there in the first game of the year at a neutral site, potentially a big game in a rematch against Clemson in the ACC championship. And if they can ride him all the way to a college football playoff berth, I think he's capable of being ridden too, by the way. He's that good and he's that physically gifted. He's one of the best running backs in college football, but at 60-1, I love that price. If I'm going running back, he'd be one that I would consider as a long shot.
Well, get this. You could get him at 100-1 at Caesars. So there you go. Let's talk about defensive players.
Hopefully after this segment, he's down to 60.
I know, it's
Hopefully
great.
after this segment, he's down to 60. People are paying attention.
As we know, a defensive player has not won the Heisman since 1997. Charles Woodson, of course. Is there a guy that you're looking at right now?
I'm going to go with Harold Perkins. And Harold Perkins last year was a true freshman playing at LSU. I'm going to be honest with you, and I tried not to be a prisoner of the moment in the booth. It was one of the best defensive performances I've seen by an individual in my entire career in the booth. Now it's only 7 years. It's not that long. I didn't get to see some of these guys back in the day, but he completely took over the game. 4 sacks in the game, completely took it over. Last year, if you talk to LSU's defensive staff, they're like, he doesn't even know what he's doing yet. We basically say, hey, Harold, like, go be the best athlete on the field, go chase down the quarterback, go rush the passer, like, don't have any reads, just play as fast as you can and make plays. And more, my goodness, did he ever. I mean, he made a ton of plays last year. Now they're moving him off the ball, where he's going to be able to be a little bit more instinctive, and he's going to have a better understanding of how he fits into the bigger picture defensively. And they have a terrific defensive tackle on the interior that's going to occupy a lot of attention in the pass rush itself. So him coming off the edge in third down situations, he could rack up 10, 12, 15 sacks potentially by season's end. So Harold Perkins would be the defensive player I'd keep an eye on.
All right, so one thing that we do know about the Heisman Trophy, and let's take a look at our last 10 winners, right? A lot of them are low on the radar. Look at long shots that often, maybe more than we would expect, do come through. Is there someone at 25-1 or longer right now that's not on the list that we haven't talked about today, Greg?
Yes. And this is as long as it gets. This is really, really long. So just stay with me for a moment. A lot of people are looking at the Ohio State quarterback situation right now and saying that Kyle McCord is going to be the starting quarterback. His odds reflect that. And we know that Ohio State's starting quarterback, it's basically you win that job, you're in New York on the second Saturday of December every year. But I'm looking actually at the guy that might be competing against Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. Now, there's some whispers right now about the possibility of him maybe surging to the front of that quarterback depth chart. He's a little bit more mobile option. Quarterback run might be featured with him in the ball game. We've seen quarterback run in the past with Justin Fields. We've seen quarterback at Ohio State. We've seen a quarterback run in the past in this style of attack with JT Barrett. So it's definitely an offense that really does well when the quarterback is really elusive as a runner, and the offensive line is a big question mark. So it's a big if Devin Brown somehow emerges as the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes, you could sprinkle a little bit on him right now at 60-1. And I like that price, especially knowing there's some momentum building. Supposedly, if you listen to some of the chatter out of Columbus, he could potentially be the guy week 1 if he emerges in that battle.
All right, before we let you go, we've got a little trivia for you. What is the first, middle, and last name of the gentleman whose Heisman Trophy is named after?
Oh. Well, it's John Heisman, right? He was a coach, I believe, at Clemson, but I can't tell you the middle name. I knew the trivia. I knew I was signing up for a bad decision because now I just got exposed. What a fraud. No credibility. I have no idea.
William.
Oh,
William is his middle name.
So obvious. I should have at least, like William or Robert. Like I could have just thrown out something, right? That would have been a little bit predictable, but no. Should have just gone with Gregory, my name. I should have just gone with that. Who knows? But I knew John Heisman, I knew Clemson, so at least I got that.
There you go. Hey, thank you so much. Such great insight for a lot of folks as we are inching closer to the college football season kicking off. Thank you so much. You have a great night. All right, we take you from football to football. That's right. The ladies have advanced out of their group. Sebastian Salazar joins us now. So, listen, we had you on prior to the tournament beginning, and you really, a lot of hoopla, a lot of excitement about this women's USA team, and you said, slow your roll. Some concern, sure enough. Now this is a team that has not looked so stellar. Now Rose Lavelle, she's going to be out because of due to yellow card accumulation. So first things first, how big of a hit is that to this Team USA heading into the next round?
Anita, I think it's impossible to overstate how big a deal Rose Lavelle's absence in this game against Sweden is going to be. You don't have to be a soccer expert. You've watched these games. You know the problem for the U.S., especially after the really first half of the first game against a relatively weak Vietnam squad, is that they're not scoring. But beyond that, they're not really creating quality scoring chances. And the player on this U.S. team who is most likely to create for others is Rose Lavelle. So her being out is a massive blow at a time when the U.S. can really ill afford it. The midfield has been the big problem for this American team. Lavelle is a huge part of that. And now the manager, Vlatko Ananovsky, is going to have to once again scramble, try to find somebody off of that bench. And there is a lot of depth on this American team, but find somebody off the bench who can provide a spark, because through the last two games, we have seen nothing from this American attack.
Yeah, very uninspired, which is really surprising. I think that they're still favored to beat Sweden. With that being said, how are you playing this match, and how confident are you that they will win?
I'm not as confident as Megan Rapinoe. After the game, Megan Rapinoe was talking to ESPN's Alexis Nunez, and she said, I wouldn't bet against us. I cannot believe the odds that I'm seeing here. I have to ask if the odds makers have watched any of the Women's World Cup. On what evidence so far do they have Sweden at plus 265 to win? Look, I hate to do it because I know we got a lot of U.S. fans watching, but just consider this advice kind of an emotional hedge, right? We're making a hedge bet on our emotions because we're going to be rooting for the U.S. So if they go out, let's at least benefit some way. I see the value here with Sweden. You can get Sweden to win or draw and over 1.5 at plus 110. I think you cover a lot of bases there. And again, I think not just based on how this U.S. team has played, by the way, but based on how well Sweden has played throughout this tournament so far, you just have to look at the Swedes as a major, major favorite, not to mention the recent history. Sweden rolled the U.S. at the last Olympics. The Olympics before that, they eliminated them. So this is a really, really bad matchup for the United States, and one they had really hoped to avoid by winning first place in the group.
So Caesar still has the United States favored to win this whole dance, which is really surprising. There are other sports books who do not. With that being said, the 16 teams left remaining, who do you think wins this entire tournament?
All right, so when it comes to the futures right here, because I'm going to give you a little bit different answer later on in the segment, you'll see. But here I'm looking for value. And when I see Japan at plus 850, plus 900, depending on where you're looking at, kind of what you're looking for, I think that's an incredible value. There has not been a team in this tournament that has put up a more impressive result than what Japan did in their group phase finale against Spain. Spain, to me, has already proven that they were one of the best teams in this tournament. They have a ton of talent on paper, and Japan absolutely destroyed them for nothing. That, to me, was a signal to the rest of the world. We've seen Japan reach finals before. We've seen Japan win the World Cup before in 2011. This new generation of Japanese players is legit, and I think at plus 850, they're the best value on that board in terms of World Cup futures right now.
Okay, not to be a negative Nelly that we both have been since we started this segment, but
we're just
you could
reacting to what
actually
we're
bet
seeing.
what stage the United States actually gets bounced. 16 semis, winner, quarterfinal, runner-up. If you were to go to the window on one of these wagers, which one would it be?
Yeah, again, I just see a really, really difficult matchup against Sweden. So I think the safe bet is that they go out tonight. I really think Sweden is, if they play this game 10 times, I think Sweden gets through 6 or 7. That's really, really unfortunate to say at this point, but it's a reality based on what we've seen from the American team. Beyond that, I would say quarterfinal at plus 400, because I do not see the United States beating one good team in Sweden and then having to re-rack it again and beat another good team, because opposite them, the next matchup would be the winner of Japan-Norway. Norway, for me, is terrible. It's one of the reasons I like Japan to potentially make a run. Japan will win that round of 16 game, and if you have to beat Sweden and then Japan just to get to the semifinals, I don't see it. So the U.S. to go out in the round of 16 or even the quarterfinals there at plus value.
Okay, so you could still capitalize on picking finals. And of course, when we had you on last time at 12-1, you threw out Australia against the United States. That now has fallen to 16-1. So if you were going to go to the window with the final two teams that you think are going to compete to win the championship, who would they be?
Right. So I'm gonna go a little bit against what I just said about Japan. I'm backing off Australia. They did win their group, but when we talked about Australia, I didn't know Sam Kerr was gonna be hurt. She's their best player by far. She may come back into the tournament, but really the impact that she have, I don't know what it'll be. So when I look at teams likely to reach a final, what I want to see is a team that, of the 4 teams in their kind of corner of the bracket, is pretty clearly the best. And for me, there's only 2 teams that remotely fit that. Spain in one half of the bracket and England in one half of the opposite side of the bracket. So I think England to reach a final is something like plus 130. Spain to reach it is plus 180. There's some good value there. England and Spain to meet in the final, which could well happen because they are on opposite sides of the bracket, plus 600. So I really like England and Spain, their pathways to the semifinals, and from there you're just 180 minutes from lifting the trophy.
Great stuff. Even though, again, I feel like we're negative Nellies. Maybe not
Hope to be wrong.
Americans
Hope to be
want
wrong.
to hear, but always great having you on Bet. Thank you so much.
Great to be with you, as always.
You got it. As always, we like to end with before I let you go. We're gonna go with a long ball long shot tonight, and that's Ryan Mountcastle for the Orioles. 33 home runs he hit 2 years ago. So far this season, he's got 13. Going up against the Blue Jays tonight, Kikuchi, who, by the way, he has been sensational against. He's batting .337 with a .684 slug percentage against left-handed pitchers. 8 of his 13 home runs have come against southpaws. And again, against Kikuchi, 5 against him. And 4 of those 5, you guessed it, were home runs. So Kikuchi has allowed 22 home runs so far this season. So Ryan Mountcastle, home run tonight that you could get around plus 420. So long ball, long shot. Let's have some fun tonight watching some Major League Baseball. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to bet. Really do appreciate it. Good luck and good betting.